Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Jurassic World Developer Spotlight live stream. I'm Steggs, part of the community team here at Frontier Developments, and joining me today is the wonderful, fantastic, incredible Joseph Saliba.
It's too much, it's too much.
Why?
Thank you for the introduction.
Why is it too much? No, it's so incredibly accurate, Joe. That's what it is.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I quite enjoyed, spending, because doing the developer spotlights like this, we tend to spend, we spend more time together than we usually would, which has been really cool for me because I've got to meet a lot more people in the development team that I wouldn't necessarily speak to loads. And I've really enjoyed my time with you, Joe.
Oh,
I had lots of fun taking pictures and everything like that. It was great. Yeah.
No, I enjoyed my time with you as well.
Good.
It's great to have good people on our team.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So firstly, I think we need to ask a very important question, Joe. Are you okay? How are you? How are you feeling? You all good?
Warmed up for another day of coding and streaming and a little bit in the middle.
Yeah, that's it. So for those that don't know, Joe is one of our core programmers here working on Jurassic World Evolution. We did put a developer spotlight blog out on Tuesday, so you can catch up with that on the forums. And we also put a behind the scenes, hold on, Joe's a little bit quiet. Let's turn Joe up.
Does it sound better?
I've turned Joe up. It's probably because I'm really loud, usually. Okay. I can't help it. I've put Joe's mic a little bit louder. I'll turn mine down a little bit as well. There we go. That should be a little bit better. You just keep updating me about the mics, everyone. I can't remember what we're talking about now. Oh yeah, and we put a behind the scenes photo out on Tuesday as well, Wednesday even. Mm-hmm. And so today, we've got Joe on stream with us. Yeah, that's it. It's exciting. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to take control of the game for this one, and we're going to be continuing on with James's challenge mode because I feel like he set us up quite well.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I know that he was disappointed he couldn't quite prove himself, so maybe you can redeem his save.
Maybe I can, yeah. I mean, I can either do that or completely ruin it. It's
both are good options.
The world is our oyster at the moment. So it's been really cool, and it seems from the reaction in the chat and on Reddit that you have really enjoyed the developer spotlights as well, so that's been great to see.
I'm really glad to see that people are enjoying seeing that.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's because it's quite. I suppose for me, it's a very sort of standard thing. Being a community manager is just being out there, and being in the sort of the public view quite a lot. So I'm very used to it. But I think for you guys especially, it must be a little bit nerve-wracking, at least a bit at first.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of putting yourself out there.
Because for a lot of our work, especially for programmers, but also for other disciplines, you tend to get into, I guess, just a groove of just working on it. So you're quite solitary when you're working on, particularly on larger pieces. Having stuff out to the public is not a normal part of the process.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can totally appreciate it, and you in particular, the community have been so lovely to everyone that's come on. So thank you all so much for that, because it is a scary thing for developers to come out sometimes and be like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is what my day-to-day is.
It's also really like a big part of why everyone in all disciplines comes out to do. To work in the gaming industry is specifically for that feedback. In a lot of other industries, you don't get to that kind of direct one-to-one communication with the people having your product at the end of it. So it's a really satisfying part of being part of the games industry. To get that feedback.
Yeah, totally. And I suppose when you said it in your developer spotlight, when you're working on a feature and it's like you said, you've got your headphones on and it's just like head down and it's just like like that. I'm imagining that's what you
lines of code coming
out.
Yeah,
lines of code. It looks like the Matrix, and And being able to sort of see that reaction when the feature's released and people really enjoying it, you know, that's got to be a great feeling.
It's so good.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I enjoy it, and I don't do anything like that. But you know, for you, it must be such a. I mean, you said it's a great feeling.
It's you spend, you know, months of time sometimes just working on like single features, and you putting all this thought, this effort, this discussion. You know, you've been really trying to like tweak it to make sure it's fitting what the community wants, and so you know you're never quite sure at the end if it's going to be how people wanted it. So when you manage to get it, that is so satisfying.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine that. So yeah, it's really cool. We're really enjoying doing these, and we're really pleased that you're enjoying them. And it's really nice that you're enjoying them as well. You know, yeah. Before we get into the game, let's have a quick look at who's in the chat, because it's very important that we know who's joining us. So we have Transfixer, Jurassic Unicast, Stuff by Nick, Jack Little. We have Coercy. Oh, Swerve is with us, Stuff by Nick, Joel C. We've got Paul Crowther. Hello, Paul. We have Trey's book, Arcany. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think I got that right. Genius Was. We have Asuka Owo. I'm so bad with names. I'm so sorry. But I feel like we have to call some people out because you've been kind enough to join us.
Yeah, and hello to everyone who said hello to me in the chat.
Yeah, we've got lots of people. There's been quite a lot of love for you, Joe, in the chat. I'm liking it a lot. I'm here twice. Did I say Stuff by Nick twice? Do you know what? It's just how it is. We've got more people coming in now as well. We've got Ishisoft, the Honey Thief.
Hello.
There we go. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, yes, like I said, we are going to be doing some more challenge mode. And while we're doing some challenge mode, I'm going to ask Joe some questions. And they're really going to be more sort of focused on, I guess, programming in general, the games industry. It's that sort of thing. I think the good thing about developer spotlights, or the way I like to see them, is you're sort of introducing yourself to the community, if you like. So you know us as community managers relatively well. You know that in my spare time, I'm actually an Olympic bodybuilder. So, you know, I feel like you need to know these kinds of things about our developers as well. I think it's important, you know? So let's get into the main game here. We are paused. And we just need to kind of figure out where we left off with James's save. Now, I know that we did manage to get some Edmontosauruses, and we've also got 3 million in the bank with 98,000 coming in. Yeah, so we have actually done pretty well here. I say we, I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing. So it is all on Joe. So
I've got to keep the production line going for this.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm hoping, Joe, that you will be able to give me some tips on this. Because I'm relatively bad at any sort of pressure situations like challenge mode.
Okay.
I kind of freak out a little bit.
Normally I'm okay.
Yeah?
But I'm not so good as the designers, unfortunately.
Yeah,
they get a lot more time to play the game.
I mean, to be fair, Joe, it's like you say, they have a lot more time. And they really do know the systems inside out.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
It's one of those kinds of things. So I'm going to incubate a couple more, and in the meantime, we might even have some fossils still. We do. So I'm just going to do that. Yeah. That's actually what is. I can't remember if you said in your spotlight. What is your favourite dinosaur?
So I sort of prevaricated a bit. It was a bit half and half. I said I like the Struthiomimus a lot because they do have some nice skins. But also because one of the largest features I got to work on, and particularly one of the ones that I got to own effectively, was the dinosaur herding stuff, or the social grouping, moving together.
Yep.
So the Struthiomimus are quite nice because they have a really big social group. So that means that you can get a lot of them moving together in flocks and stuff. You know, you can see them weaving in and out of each other. And they also have a load of quite good skins. Like they have quite nice bright colours and stuff. Which
They
is cool.
do, yeah, they do. I don't actually know if I don't know if James was so set on the challenge that we didn't actually put any skins on, because obviously with challenge,
he was just concerned with efficiency there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think that's the way to do it. With challenge, you kind of do need to be a little bit ruthless in your skin choices and stuff like that, don't you? Maybe until you sort of get to the end.
Yeah. I hear that one of the better strategies is just to build live sauropods. Huge quantities of big dinosaurs.
Yeah, I think that could totally work. I mean, I definitely can't afford them. Not right now. Yeah. But yeah, I think some people were saying that having a Diplodocus and a Dilophosaurus in the same enclosure is a really good thing, because they're both quite high rated, and they fit very nicely together, so they don't tend to bother each other too much.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, why would you? If you're a Diplodocus, why are you going to be? You know, you could just step on it.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, they're not going to be able to
worry
do
about
much.
anything.
Yeah. Whereas, you know, the Troodons, you got to be careful of them. Like, they are.
I think also that was actually part of the reason why in my limited understanding of paleontology.
Yeah.
It was very limited understanding. Is that part of the reason that the herbivores grew so large is simply they're too large to even like bite through. So the defense mechanism is just we're enormous. Like same with whales, basically.
Right.
They're just so big that you just can't even like.
I mean, it makes sense. You know, it's a good defense mechanism to have. Let's face it. You know, if I was that big, I probably wouldn't be too scared of it either. Lapanu's in the chat. Hello, Lapanu. Welcome to the stream. Orange Sparks also joined us as well. Thank you all for coming along. So, Joe, while I'm trying to sort of figure out a little bit where we're going to go next with this, why don't we get into one of the questions? It's all I'd like to know is how you ended up getting into the games industry.
So it wasn't entirely straightforward, but it sort of seemed predestined afterwards. In that I played games as long as I can remember, and I ended up coming a little late to the Warcraft 3 modding scene, but I did end up playing around with the world editor and doing some little mods. I don't think anyone will remember Tech Wars. It was something in the vein of Civilization Wars, but yeah, it was a cool little mod for Warcraft 3, which I played around with, and then I ended up experimenting with things and coming to the limit of what I could do within that tool set.
Sure.
So at that point, I was curious where I could take it, and so I ended up looking into C++ because it was the language of choice for video games at that time, and apparently also at this time, which is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something I just picked up as a hobby. And then yeah, I did some GCSE stuff with using my C++ things, and then I kind of experimented with a couple of different ideas of what I wanted to do with computer science stuff. But at the end of the day, with what I wanted to do at university. So I'd had a couple of other ideas, but I got good maths grades at school, and I really liked computer stuff, so I ended up going to computer science. There are a couple of other options there in which specific industry I wanted to go into, but actually what happened is, so during my computer science course, we did a 6-month internship at a company, and I did really enjoy mine, but there was definitely not the kind of feedback I had wanted, which is what I was talking about earlier. Basically, you would spend a lot of time making something, and then it would go through layers, like it'd be bought by like a business or whatever, and you wouldn't you wouldn't ever get any feedback from the end user. So it's hard to get that. So it was kind of unsatisfying in that it was, it wasn't as immediate as I wanted it to be. So then I was like, okay, well, I've always wanted to do games programming stuff. I've always been interested in video games. You know, I've kept up in the industry a lot. And I was like, okay, let's try out doing video game stuff for a second. And I applied, got hired, and I've loved every moment, every moment since.
I mean, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? And obviously, I mean, programming is I mean, it's let's put it bluntly, it's completely out of my skill range, and I feel like that's a bit of an understatement. So I'm assuming
cool when for like non-programmers that like it looks like magic. That's one of the fun bits.
Yeah, it really does. That's the thing. You know, when I sort of see like coders coding on a screen, I'm like, I just don't understand what you're doing. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so yeah, it's always really quite interesting to see the sorts of things that you're able to do with, you know, I don't know how to describe it because I'm not a coder, with that.
It's weird because as an internal perspective from a coder, half the time you're like, I'm not sure if this is gonna work, or I'm not sure like why this is working. You're like just like trying stuff and like fiddling about, and you're like, oh god, like you feel so. There's a really good image online which is like half the time you feel like, oh my god, it's so like I'm a god, and then half the time you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing even. But yeah, from like I'd say that a lot of it builds on. I mean, a lot of it ends up being just like really complicated logic. Like there is a certain amount of like pure math algorithms stuff, but to be fair, that's a very small amount. Like a lot of it is just logic stuff. It's just that it gets really complicated when you've got loads of things to handle around.
I see. Okay.
A lot of people online compare it to Factorio, which is another favorite game of mine.
Oh, all right.
that
yeah,
I like.
Yeah.
In that it's a lot about you solve some very small problem and then you use that solution to build up to a more complicated, to something that's capable of solving a more complicated problem. So you're composing lots of like little parts together into some big thing that can actually do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So you know, this is the game system here is composed of like a huge number of much smaller, much simpler systems. You know,
Sure.
So like a bit that allows you to move a Jeep around, for example, the bit that just makes the wheels spin, whatever. That's pretty simple. It's quite easy to explain. But when you start composing it on top of everything else that's going on in the game, it starts becoming really crazy and complicated.
I mean, the fact that you've said like the bit that makes the wheels spin on the Jeep, like for me, as somebody that knows absolutely nothing about coding, I'm like, I didn't even think that was a thing. No, I did. That's the thing. You do. You just don't sort of. I don't think I appreciate quite how everything in this game has been like programmed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, from the wheels, you know, it just. Yeah, like when you said it, I was just like, oh yeah, the wheels. Like that's so strange.
That's what makes it complicated. Like it's just because there's so many, like because you have to tell a computer literally everything. So like a lot of stuff which is like, you know, you think of walking or whatever, right? It's like made up of like, you don't think about how much you need to tilt your foot to step at all. But to a computer, you have to tell it that. Yeah. So that's where it comes in. So it ends up just being a case of understanding how to do that complexity.
Man, like that's mind-blowing to me. I use the word mind-blowing a lot, and I probably overuse it, but that genuinely does just kind of like blow my mind when thinking about that kind of thing. And obviously you must have been kind of building up to programming since you were quite young, I suppose. Would that be right to say?
Yeah, because I got into, like I said, I got into it as like a hobby, but definitely there was a lot of in the modding stuff I did, it had a sort of pseudo programming thing, which was just a case where you could put an if this, then this, else this kind of statement.
Right.
But you could do it with like, you just move like blocks around kind of thing to make the statements.
Okay.
And it had some like a lot of demo levels and stuff that you could see how it did it before. So that was a really good introduction to the concept of programming before actually dealing with the syntax, so like the actual language itself. Because like once you get the conceptual bit, it's a lot easier to move into well, now we need to write it in a specific way, because that's what programming languages end up being.
Oh, I see. Well, I guess that does make sense, because I'm not gonna lie to you, Joe. I tried it. I have tried coding. You know, there's quite a few sort of online, I don't know what you call them, just online applications, if you like, that all try to help you learn how to start coding. And I was just so bad at it. Like I was trying. I was honestly, I was probably doing it for a good 2 months. Every night for a couple of hours, I'd go in and I'd just be like, right, this is what I'm trying to do. And you know, I think I managed to make a sort of story game where it would give you a little like, oh, you've got these things to do. What do you do?
Yeah.
But
that's not bad.
No, I know. But then if I tried to put that into my own thing, I was probably going a bit too fast for my own good. But I was then sort of like, right, okay, so if I just remember all of that, I could change the story and make it like my own thing. Because I was just following instructions, really. And then when I tried to do that, I was just like, no, it's just not working. It's just not going into my head. I can't remember anything.
One thing about this is it is a slow process. Like in terms of timescales, you need to think like getting into programming is more like learning a language.
Sure.
In terms of the actual timescale, like it's something measured in years, not in not in like days.
Right. Yeah.
It is something that takes a while to get around.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I'm a hugely impatient person. So I don't know. But
I'd recommend. One thing I would say to any people wanting to learn or whatever is if you learn some JavaScript stuff, you can start making like modifications to web pages and stuff, which is kind of fun. So you can make a thing that allows you to, I don't know, change the formatting of like, someone was talking about learning to write in HTML in the chat.
Yep.
So I'll be very pedantic and say that HTML is not technically a programming language, but yeah, JavaScript has attached to a website. It's a markup language, but yeah, it's good. It's a good thing to learn, like understanding like structures and how to fit things in. And what causes the stuff to get rendered on the screen. It's cool.
Is there anyone in the chat that is particularly interested in programming or is currently trying to get a programming job or anything to do with programming? It would be really interesting to just hear about your experience as well. I think it's quite cool to be able to get a lot of different perspectives on this, from sort of yours, which is like, I've done it, from mine, which is like, I can't do it, and from yours, which might be like, I'm trying, you know? I just think it's quite interesting to listen to a few different people and, you know, see what everyone's experience is.
Actually, I've been helping teach out some of our animators have been learning more coding stuff. So if you actually wanted to join in, there's a thing, there's a club in Frontier, for learning Python stuff,
That's well cool.
We were dealing with regular expressions recently, actually, which is super useful.
See, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's basically just like a really advanced find and replace.
No, you still lost me. Am I supposed to know what any of this
Control
means?
F?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
like that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then
yeah.
find and replace, It's like an advanced version of that. Yeah.
Right, okay. I've got you now. I've got you. That's the thing, you know, I'm playing as well. I'm trying to I can't multitask.
This is why I said, you know, I'm going to sit back so I can fully focus on answering the questions.
Honestly, I don't blame you at all. I think that's the best way to go. I was actually very, very impressed that James actively said, "Yeah, I want to play." I was like, "Wow!" Like,
he's actually a very competitive person.
Oh, really?
We play a lot of Smash at lunch sometimes.
You do?
Yeah.
Does he play with you?
He was playing with me, but I ended up getting busy and playing Factorio. But around lunchtimes. But yeah, we were playing a lot together. Actually, that's how part of how we got to know each other. Apart from the social grouping stuff. Sure. Which we worked on together.
Right. Oh man. I mean, do you know when you look at? To be fair, I think when you look at anyone, you don't get a good impression, an impression of what they are until you start speaking to them. But from chatting to James on the stream, I'd be like, I don't think you're a competitive person. I think you're really chill. But now I've got this vision of James just being like, like, you know, trying to.
He's told me about
everyone
several times about how frustrated he is by scrub mentalities, for example. So.
Oh man, that's
great. And I share that to some degree. Yeah.
Hey, no, we're not going to start talking about Smash. No, that's not what we do. We're talking about programming. I mean, sure, we went on a little bit of a tangent there, but you know, that's fine. Right, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what we're trying to do. We got a disease, but that's okay. I think that's fixed.
Yep.
So we want to. I think really what we probably want to do is start maybe thinking about a carnivore. I'm a little bit scared.
You'll need to. I'd advise moving into different. Oh yeah, you've closed off the section so you can heli lift it. Elsewhere.
Yeah, but I put some Ankies in there because their social's really bad, and they wouldn't have been able to be in this pen, I don't think.
They would. I really like them a lot for how they look, but yeah, they're such a pain, and particularly because I like having big enclosures of like lots of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like just grumpy all the time.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, they really are though. It's a shame because the Anki is actually my favourite dinosaur. And so I would happily have a park full of Ankies, but because I'm trying to do a challenge, I just I can't do it. So one thing we probably should focus on here is actually these, really, isn't it? So
we should definitely be getting some fossil things out.
Yeah, we need to actually get a bit of a move on with these. Okay, so that's what I was trying to do.
Nice.
Yeah, love it. So that's good. Yeah, let's send an expedition team out again, and let's take them to, where are we taking them? Where am I taking them? There, that's where I'm taking them. Just so that, because we've got what have we got? Oh, I thought we had a science one that asked us to grab 2 Ceratosaurus fossils or carnivore fossils. Maybe we completed that. I can't remember. But it's all good. We got increase in new genome anyway. Yeah. Okay, Joe. Let's move on to another question. Let's come back to programming, because that's indeed what we're all here for. So it's really simple. Why? You might have touched on this in your previous answer, but it's all right. We can go over it again. Why did you choose programming? Has it been something you've just always known you wanted to do, or did you kind of just fall into it, if you like?
Sort of the second, but it's. So I had experimented with a couple of other ideas before I was going into university. In fact, the other ones were physics and law were the other ones I was considering.
Okay.
But physics does not, or how should I put it? It feels like you have to have a lot more, honestly, a lot more intelligence and hard work to get the same sort of results. Programming is quite favorable at the moment in terms of job opportunity stuff.
Sure.
You know, I mean, in fact, we do have, I think, some people studied physics and maths working here as coders.
All right.
But obviously, it's a more natural route to go straight with programming. But yeah, basically, it ended up being that it seemed better in terms of flexibility for job stuff, but also that, as I said, I had been doing programming in my spare time for fun without a thought to where it was going to end up going academically. And so when I ended up making the decision for university, I was like, oh, well, if I could, I was thinking about what sort of thing do these jobs end up being day to day? Like, what is the normal everyday action of that? And so for like, you know, for law, I imagine there's a lot of paperwork stuff, which didn't super appeal to me. That was actually one of the big things that put me off it.
Yeah, I could appreciate that.
Yeah, even though I'm sure there's some really cool moments in it, I assume there's going to be a lot of really boring downtime stuff, whereas programming I already knew from having done a certain amount of it in my free time, that I was like, oh, this is actually really fun just to come in and do. You know, I wasn't lying when I said in my in the Spotlight thing that I am actually excited to come in and do stuff and program. It's really satisfying. It definitely plays into that builder mentality you can have, which hopefully some people get from this game, where you can, you know, you set out little things, you set it up, you see it running, you know.
Yeah.
It's really, it's a very satisfying field to work in.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think, do you know, one of the things that really shocked me about the games industry was, because I used to work in like retail when I was like 16, which was a very long time ago, very long. I worked in retail for a long old time, and when I got into the games industry, I was amazed at that feeling of, like you said, actually waking up and being happy that you're going into work. And it's nothing. It's obviously nothing against retail. There are people that are absolutely suited to it, and they're really, really amazing at their jobs.
To be fair, everyone I've ever heard talk about retail told me about how much they disliked it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, you see the sort of the managers are really into it, and they quite clearly really enjoy the job. It just wasn't something for me.
Yeah.
And I never really associated. This sounds really bad, but when I was a kid, I didn't associate work with something enjoyable because of that sort of experience.
Yep.
So when I got into the industry, I was like, hold on, why am I excited to go into work tomorrow? That feels strange. It feels like I'm going in to do something I like. Oh, I am, you know? And it is, there really is something to say about that. You know, it really makes your whole, it makes your life just generally better, doesn't it? You
Definitely,
know, just enjoying what you do.
Because it's so much of a period of time, you know, that you're going to be like 8 hours a day plus.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing.
It's
also
a very long time.
It's also really interesting in that it also means that you have, with everyone that you're working with, you have a shared common interest, which is really neat.
Yes.
Like you always have some common ground, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's, do you know, I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You really do. Like if you're ever sort of, like you come into a new job, let's say, like I have very recently, and you immediately know that you can chat to these people about games. Yep. You know, it's there. It's really, really nice, actually. Yeah, didn't even think of it. I don't know if I've done the right thing here, Joe, but I need some more power for my new.
Yeah, I mean, considering this is the save that James had, just as a like efficiency one, we'll just slap it down. We'll ignore the aesthetics and just build.
That's it. That's exactly it. You know, I'm following in James's footsteps. That's the plan anyway. I really like that. I think it's important to like your job, and like I said, I never experienced it until I got into the industry, and I'm sort of, you know, let's say in 10 years, if I ever have some strange random decision to be like, you know what, I'm going to go and do this now, I'm scared of that sort of thing, because you sort of think, you've got it so good in the games industry, it's like, what if you moved and you just,
like there are definitely trade-offs with other industry, but like that one of being excited to come into work is a big one. Like I said, that's why I chose to go into this, because originally I was scared the other way, which is like, well, are the trade-offs I'm making worth it to come into the game industry? But it definitely was, and particularly because that was something that I found in my other jobs, is like, I would rather, it's worth making the trade-off, at least at this point in my life. I wanted to know what it was like to really enjoy what I'm working at.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. Right, I'm just going to have a little check on these. I think everyone's okay.
Might need to tweak the feeder frequency, maybe?
Oh, you reckon? Oh.
The other one.
Oh.
Do you know how feeders work?
Of course I know how feeders work. I know exactly what I'm doing with feeders. Oh, I see. All right, what would you recommend here? What are you thinking?
Just faster.
You want it faster?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You got a lot of dinos in there, so if you want to keep them all fed, you got to either put more feeders down or faster. Faster's easy enough.
All right, let's try 4 and see how they get on. I think that's a good shout. We've obviously seen them there now, so everyone should be. Oh.
My advice?
Yeah, no, you were completely right. Like you were really, really right. Maybe we should actually just put another feeder in. Maybe we should do that. Should we put another feeder in there?
I think. Designers are going to shout at me. I don't remember what the exact ratio is, but I think I tend to use as a heuristic, have like a feeder for every 5 dinos. But yeah, you can have either more feeders or increase the food replenishing rate depending on which you want. Okay. There's a difference of the the actual cost of the feeder versus having to manage it, and you know.
You're going to be scared to go upstairs now, just in case the designers shout at you, aren't you?
It'll be fine. They probably don't want me telling them the exact ratio anyway, so
maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I'd like to see the guys underground who fill the feeders. Yeah. I mean,
they're very happy to work there.
They clearly are. You know, they've been doing it a long time. They're experienced feeder people. Feeder people. maintenance. I don't know what
Feeder
they'd
stock.
be. Yeah, feeder stockists. That'll be it. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? So the plan at the moment is we've got a dig team going out to get some more Ceratosaurus DNA. We are going to grab that and get a Ceratosaurus in the park.
Get a prime exhibition.
Yeah, that's the idea. We'll obviously have to put a viewing gallery around here. I might actually be a bit cheeky and make this a little bit smaller and see how small we could make it.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I'm worried about space. You know, I want it to be an efficient park, and it needs to work and do its job, and we need to win challenge mode.
You can stick a couple of Ceratosaurs in there as well.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Does this have the social gene stuff yet?
It will, but I think we probably have to research it for challenge mode, do we not? Yeah, I reckon we would. I don't know where it is.
I think it's under the
They're
traits
skins,
stuff.
aren't they? It is traits.
Yeah, I think it might be. Oh, it does, yeah. Confined space. Some of them.
So it does have
Down
some.
the bottom, yeah.
My only worry is it a good idea? Well, it probably is, isn't it? Which one is it? Where is it? Don't know where it's gone. Surely we
So
do
they've
have
got-
it.
Yeah, they've got some of them. So there was a stress inhibitor one, for example, but I think it's the bottom row. Yeah, so confined space.
Okay, you do. Oh, who do we need? Science. Keeping science happy. Expedition centre to unearth. Oh, we could do that. Easy money. Let's just quickly do that. We might have already
Money
done
for
it.
free.
I love it when they do that. We've also got a no power outages one as well, which makes me
Yep.
very, very happy. I can't remember what it was. Small or medium? Okay, fine. That's great.
Nice
So
and
we
easy.
can just do that. That makes me happy. Wonderful news. Wonderful news. Right. While the expedition team are doing their thing, let's move on. So something that you worked on, you said in your developer spotlight, was the group social behaviours. I mean, I'm obviously not asking you to go into full detail,
Yeah.
but sort of in general, how complicated or difficult was that to get right, if you like?
So it was fairly complicated. In fact, it wasn't entirely sure how far we could go with it.
Okay.
It ends up, the complication ended up coming from a couple of different places. So the first one is adding a new behavior to any dinosaur. Obviously got to be concerned about the fact that in larger parks with huge numbers of dinosaur, you've got performance concerns there. So you've got to make sure that everything is running smoothly and quickly, which for something like herding can be something like social grouping can be pretty, can be complex, because you've got to consider not only each dinosaur, but each dinosaur's relation to every other dinosaur.
Sure.
Which is an n squared problem, to put it
I know what
computer
that means.
science.
We all know what that means. It's n squared.
But that's, so there was that aspect of the complication. There's also the aspect of we didn't want it to destabilize existing parks. We didn't want it to end up being something that was going to negatively affect people who already had their own setups, already had certain parks laid out in a certain way. We wanted to make sure that it was only an additive benefit, basically, rather than something that would force changes. So that added its own complication from the design side of things. But it ended up, so it did take quite a long time to implement all of those features, but it was, but a lot of the complication just ended up being the performance aspects, which we ended up coming up with a good solution to. I won't bore you with the full technical details of it.
No, that's all right.
I was trying to think how deep I should go into it.
No, I mean, the thing is, that if you go super deep, I will actually switch off.
Yeah.
And
I imagine all the people
I will
watching
just
will
start
as well.
going like, it wouldn't end well.
Yeah.
But no, and obviously you touched on the sort of the other aspects when you're changing behaviours of dinosaurs and making sure that It's not going to mess up anyone else's save and stuff like that. Like that, they're all things again that, like for me, when reading through all of these developer spotlights, there's so many things that even like I hadn't considered about development. And I think it's been a really cool insight to get, because you just.
It's particularly strong when you have to consider stuff like, so the social grouping stuff touches on the eating and drinking stuff a bit.
Okay.
Because it will make them want to eat and drink more in sync with the rest of their group, which is obviously, you can get quite nervous about trying to touch that stuff, because you obviously want to make sure that everyone gets fed, drinks water, doesn't, no one gets stuck anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always important. Yeah. It's important in real life as well. Make sure you drink and eat, everyone, please.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated. Very good. Very good. In fact, you know what? Just gonna.
I'm already fully hydrated, so no need to worry about me.
Very good. Very good, Joe. I like this. We're setting a good example for everyone. I like it a lot. Tracebook says, for efficient space use, I use the symmetry mode, spacebar, when placing buildings. Oh, interesting. There you go.
So to lay it out as like a grid, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. We've got a couple of questions about the time of the stream. So we've gone to BST now. We were actually having a conversation about this in Community World upstairs. Seriously, you want me to sell? Really? I've just made them. Okay, fine. No, sorry. We'll
just break out the violins.
We don't have an ACU.
Sailing off into the. Oh right.
We
Okay.
We don't actually have an ACU yet.
Better not get any breakouts in.
No, that's. I didn't realise that. Let's probably sort that out now.
Lucky one.
No, probably not. We'll have to put it down here somewhere. That's all right.
We're on a more mild island here, so.
Yeah. I mean, we're probably going to be okay. I just want to try and give it as much space as possible. That'll do.
Yeah, you can see it's on a steep hill there. So.
Yeah. So it works. That's what I was planning. Yes. So yeah, we're in BST now, which is 1 hour ahead of UTC. So we were discussing the communication of the stream times now, and because obviously if we say 12 p.m. now, it's no longer 12 p.m. UTC. It's 12 p.m. BST.
I think the US also moved daylight savings at a different time.
Yes, I think they do. Yeah. It's very, very confusing, but at the same time, it also gives us brighter days, and that makes me happy, which means I can never be upset with daylight savings. Not brighter days, sorry, longer days. Of course it doesn't give us brighter days.
Yeah, brighter morning, evenings? One or two.
Yeah.
I'm not really paying attention.
Why not use GMT? Well, GMT is the same as UTC. Someone in the chat's going to prove me completely wrong here.
There's some technicalities.
But I'm pretty sure that GMT is the same as UTC, and BST is 1 hour ahead of GMT as well. So currently we're not in GMT, we're in BST. That was tough. My brain actually hurts a little bit at the moment, but I think we got through it relatively well.
There's a very good video online of the complications of time zones with programming. Why you don't want to deal with it with programming techniques.
Really?
There's some very particular, so stuff like Tibet is like 7 3/4 hours ahead of GMT and stuff like that. There's a really, really good one. I'd advise you to go look it up.
Wow.
I think some people probably know the one I'm referring to.
Okay. I had no idea that would be...
And leap seconds. So.
Why do you do this to me? I thought to myself, I was like, oh no, we're going to have a programmer on stream. He's going to say really smart things. And we did relatively well up until now. And then I think my brain is just gone. It's not even in my head anymore. It's out. There we go. Yeah, GMT, UTC, or BST, large debate in the studio today. It is indeed. But it's all good. We'll figure it out and try and get the best sort of communication out there. Anyway, let's look at some more stuff that we can talk about. Joe, there's one question because I actually asked Will in the community team if he could think of any interesting questions, and he did. but I don't know. I have no idea what sort of answer you're going to give me, so it's going to be quite an interesting one. What's one of the things that surprises you when you're programming?
In a positive way or a negative way?
Let's go in a positive way. I suppose the negative's probably easier, isn't it?
To some degree. A lot of programming stuff ends up being discovering, I guess, stuff that other people have written. So particularly in a job. So like when you're working on your own projects, you can get a sense of rediscovery when you come back and see, oh, this is what I was writing a year ago, which is funny. In the same way that when you look back on like a diary or something you've read, and you come back a year ago and like, what was I thinking? Well, half the time you're like, what was I thinking? Half the time you're like, oh, I don't remember thinking like that, but it's interesting. But it is always really, but when you're programming in a company setting, you end up with huge, vast quantities of code. Like the code bases are really big, and you've got a lot of people working on it. So you end up with knowledge very much dispersed between people. So when you go and work, so when an individual goes and works on a particular bit of code, you tend to have to like sort of chart out the territory, figure out what's there. And it's always really interesting just to see how expressive coding can be, because every coder has their own like individual style. So they'll use certain like constructs more, or they'll write, or they'll space things in a certain way. They'll structure things. They'll add comments and stuff. So they'll have their own like habits and stuff. And it's really interesting looking through other people's code and saying, oh, so that's how you would approach and solve this problem. You know, it's like when you're watching like puzzle games online. Like you solve it in your own way, and then you go, oh, but that's another solution I could have done, which is really interesting. So that gives you more of a like, it sort of stimulates you to experiment with your own designs, be like, oh, maybe that's something I could try. As well as just sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes you do get to look at a bit of code and go, that is beautiful code.
Really?
Which is really satisfying. So you get the opposite probably more frequently, but...
So there is such a thing as beautiful code?
Absolutely, yeah. Really? There's a lot of debate over beautiful code. In fact, I'm reading a book right now called Refactoring, which is all about making code look nice rather than like performant or whatever.
Right. So okay, I don't know how much detail without examples you're going to be able to go into for this, but what makes a bit of code beautiful?
It's very similar to the concept of a mathematical equation being beautiful, which is basically if you can very succinctly but very clearly state something, so it's 100% clear what you mean, but it's also short. Because a lot of the time you have to spend a lot of words like saying stuff. So it's like editing an essay down, for example, right? Like a really good piece of writing or a really good quote can be done in a very short amount. They'll be able to say a lot. And coding is very much like that. In fact, for coding, the benefit of having beautiful code as well is that it tends to have less bugs in it. Because it's very clear what it's doing, and there's not very much of it, so it's easy to go over it. Whereas if you've got a lot of code, for example, it can be hard to figure out where something is going wrong or where to add a new feature. And if you've got code that is sort of vague about what it's saying, then if you get the wrong idea and you go, oh, I need to add something, I guess it goes here, but you've misunderstood how that code works, that introduces bugs, for example, as well. So if it's concise and clear, that is really, really nice.
Okay, that was actually quite a good. That was quite a good explanation. I didn't think you'd be able to do it as sort of so specifically and actually paint a relatively decent picture for someone that has no idea about code.
I'm trying my best.
No, you did really well. I appreciate that. That was a lot of effort. I love this.
Shout out to Transfix, by the way. Yeah, the book I'm reading is Refactoring. 2nd edition came out this year, in fact.
Man, okay. James in the chat says, I absolutely love this guy's passion for coding. So much respect.
The guy above him is one of our animators, so.
Really love listening to Joe talk. Really, is that one of our animators?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet though. That's nice.
It is sweet, yeah.
Getting lots of support. I like this, and it's absolutely true. You can quite clearly. I'm hoping that it comes off in the stream as well, but I'm sitting here and I can quite literally feel that passion that you've got about coding, and it's really, really nice to sort of be in the presence of that. You know, it's very
I hope I can convince people how good coding can be.
You want to get more people into it, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, aren't they? I think they're going to start teaching coding in schools soon, aren't they?
People have said that, yeah. I hesitate about that because it's like I said before, learning coding is kind of like learning a language in that it requires a certain amount of like dedication and time that like I know that in my language experience when I was learning in school, a lot of people it ends up being a real drag because it's something that takes a long time, and if you're not interested, it just goes nowhere. So.
But do you think, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm probably coming at this with a sort of older person's point of view now, because I was exactly the same. I was terrible with languages in school. I don't know any other languages, and I'm ashamed to say it. I don't know them. But do you think the fact that with coding, programming, that sort of thing, you know that with that experience you could do something like going into the games industry or something like that? Do you think if that went along with the lessons, like, oh hey, here's what you could do with this kind of stuff, do you think that might make a difference and sort of get that inspiration to learn it to come through? Or do you...
I think it's just going to be so person to person.
That is true.
Yeah,
very true.
Because some people just won't have a following for it, and it requires a certain a certain patience, a certain methodicalness.
Yeah.
So there's sort of people who liked, like the classic one is if you like Lego or Brio or like that kind of building stuff when you're younger, you'll probably like coding stuff, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, basically.
Yeah, I could totally appreciate that. It's like I was saying earlier, I'm a very impatient person, and I really struggled with trying to learn how to code. It was, it's just one of those things.
But I definitely think if you are a person who has patience and whatever, then don't let the scary runes put you off coding it. Like that stuff becomes very, very natural once you get into it, and a lot of it is shared between programming languages as well. So I wouldn't even necessarily stress too much over specific programming languages. A lot of that writing ends up being the same between languages.
Right. I feel like I've learnt a lot this stream. It's been really quite good. We are actually coming to the sort of end of the time, so I'm just going to go back to this screen. I don't think we did badly in that challenge mode, though. I didn't ruin James's save.
One thing I'll say to Marinthew,
go on,
who says, for me it really clicked when I got to interact with actual data and have something to grasp. Twitch chat and League of Legends player data was what made it for me. So I would say, one of my first projects actually was working on, was when I was doing for my statistics GCSE, when I was working with EVE Online player data. So that was, that helped a lot. And one of the things I like about C++ as a language as well is it doesn't hide from you the details about where stuff resides in memory, which definitely helped me a lot for my computer science degree, because they actually teach you in detail how the hardware works.
Right.
So right down to the switch level. Definitely looking into the concrete details of it can help. It helped me a lot when I was learning. So I agree with you completely.
I like it. Look at these like two programmers just chatting about programming together. Love it. So we did have one question on the forum from the blog, the Developer Spotlight blog, from Pixelated Sparkster. But to be honest, we can't really answer it in a lot of detail. So it's one of those things. It was basically the question. More or less, Pixelated Sparkster, I know you're here. I hope you don't mind me sort of paraphrasing a little bit, because obviously, like you said, it was quite a long question. But it was sort of asking about the future of AI in the game. So, are there going to be improvements or new additions or anything like that? What I would say with that is basically we're always trying to work on improving current systems. Yep. Such as lots of other currently implemented features in the game, along with putting new features out as well. So there's nothing specific that I can necessarily that we can necessarily say about it, but I hope that at least answers partially a little bit of the question. But other than that actually was the only question we had. I think with programming, it's quite it's quite a scary thing to ask about sometimes, because it's a very, or at least to me and maybe to other people that aren't programmers themselves, it feels like a very sort of hardcore thing to do, if you know what I mean. So when you're trying to think of questions, you're sort of like, code stuff, you know? Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, if it helps at all from inside a coder perspective, you're always like kind of floundering a bit.
I like that.
So, as in, you're always trying to push yourself and work with things that are like, you're always trying to learn more. There's always more to look over. There's always more ways to think about the way, always more ways to improve what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're always working with limited, there's always more you want to do. Like it's one of these, it's a lot like writing a story or whatever, right? There's always more you want to do, so always more
Sure.
trying to push yourself and go further. So I'd say for like approaching coders or whatever, it's, they're a lot less confident in their own abilities than you were like intimidated by it probably.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's something, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a lot like what people say about really great artists or authors, right? They're always the biggest critics of their own work.
Yeah.
It's very similar for coding and stuff. Right?
Yeah. No, I could totally see that actually. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense to me, at least. Yeah. Well, we are indeed. We're 1 minute over time, Joe. 1 minute over.
Got an
that
extra
means.
minute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I've kept Joe from lunch, and it's very important that we feed the devs here because they can get very cranky if they're not fed. I think hangry is the word for it.
We don't quite start breaking down the walls, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tempting.
Yeah, I've heard some. I've seen a couple of cracks in the walls when it's 1:30 and people haven't been fed. It's not a pretty sight. So before we continue talking about random food things, that is the end of our stream. And I saw somebody ask if we had saved it. I have saved it. It's all good. Don't worry. We're not gonna hopefully have another issue like we had last time. Joe, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And hopefully we'll be able to see your face again, and you can come on again, and we can have some fun like we did today. Thank you all so much for joining us. And again, this is the last developer spotlight for now. But it's been awesome. It's been really, really lovely to see the response to all of the developers. And just again want to say a huge thank you to you guys for being such a lovely community and welcoming people like Joe to our streams and having some fun with them.
Be eagerly looking forward to your feedback.
Yeah, there you go.
Everything in the future.
Exactly. Remember to leave that. And we will be back with more Jurassic World Evolution next Thursday. I believe we're doing some Jurassic World Evolution racing next Thursday.
Nice.
So that should be quite.
You've got to make sure you get your Eurobeat playlist. Lined up for that.
Yeah, that's going to be on. Yeah, we're going to have it. It's going to be great. So we'll see you next Thursday. Have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.